Hey, what's up, you guys? I apologize for not posting in a while. And you may be asking yourself, well, why are you posting then? What's up? It's been, I think almost 2 years since I've actually made any worthwhile content. And the simple answer for that would be things are pretty bad, guys. If you do not know, in the United States, there were 7 different, how would you call it? Like water facilities, I'm going to assume. I don't know if they were hydroelectric or if it was like water purification facilities, whatever, were cyber attacked basically a couple of days ago. And if I remember, I'm not sure that they've released the various different locations in which these attacks happened, but essentially the water supplies were shut down. If you haven't seen, the United States government has also issued a warning to multiple states for this weekend, that essentially saying that to be on alert, multiple municipal electrical facilities and power facilities may come under attack. I'm assuming that means cyber attack. That wasn't very specific on that. I wouldn't assume that someone would try to physically attack within the United States unless they're trying to use sleeper cells to do so. And I mean, it's just kind of another tack on the board whenever we look at the fact that, yeah, there's millions in this country that could be sleeper cell agents. So I'm not saying it's not a possibility. I'm just saying that I find that possibility to be less likely. It does seem more likely that we're going to have cyber attacks possibly on some power grid structures. As far as I understand, these attacks are supposed to be coming from Iran, who I'm sure you already know we are currently in a conflict with, if you want to call it a conflict. It's not exactly a good state of affairs. And whenever I also see that a couple of days ago in Dearborn, Michigan, a person who was essentially protesting the Islamic rally in Dearborn, Michigan was assaulted and his freedom of speech was denied, and the cameraman was also assaulted and his freedom of speech was as well denied. They were chased out of the location, and it did seem, from what I could see in the video, that there were Islamic police officers who very much seemed to be agging on the crowd, if not at least running defense for the crowd and not for the 2 individuals who were legitimately being assaulted. This is in America. Dearborn is in Michigan. And if I remember, there's another town in Michigan that also is mostly Islamic now. And as far as I understand, in Dearborn, Michigan, the majority of the police are Islamic. The majority of like the signs and things that you will read as you're driving around have the Arabic writing. I believe it's Sanskrit. I could be wrong. Either way, I don't care enough to worry about their writing, to be 100% honest. I don't want to see it in my country. And I'm just going to throw this out there, and I hope enough true-blooded Americans would be wise enough to understand what I'm saying. I really don't care to be called Islamophobic at this point. They literally chant death to America in rallies. And, the whole idea of a phobia essentially means an irrational fear of a certain thing or a irrational dislike of a certain thing. Well, while I may say, sure, call me Islamophobic, I won't say that my fear or that my dislike is irrational. It seems to me like their dislike of me is actually irrational. Are they Americophobic? We know they're Christophobic for sure. Guys, I have to be 100% clear. I am not inciting violence. I'm not doing that. I'm also, however, not saying that the United States needs to just roll over and let this happen. Guys, this is not good. People in the United States of America being attacked by what to me looked like radical Islamic mobs. And it was a mob. There was well over the normal amount of people that two guys could try to handle if it came down to blows. They had to run. There was no option, especially with the police helping the mob. We've seen this with the LGBT people as well. They can be outwardly violent and nothing is done against them, but the moment that a man or a woman speaks out against them, they are allowed to be violent and nothing can be done to them about it. Now, the reason why I keep saying that, something has to be done about this, something has to change, is because if we don't do something, start speaking out, start calling the governor of Michigan, or we may have to try to figure out a way to go above his head because we know he's a complete lunatic and he's probably all for it. Things are going to end up getting really bad in this country if we don't do something. I know for the longest time our grandparents' generation and our parents' generation has told us, keep your head down. And I promise this isn't all of you. My mother, for example, is very much in agreement with a lot of the things that I've been saying on this. So it's not all of them. And I meet a lot of people that agree with me as well that are of the older generations. But a lot of them would tell you, keep your head down, don't say the wrong thing, just go to work, live your life, enjoy your family, and just mind your own business. Well, I have to just point this out. None of the heroes that we read in history did any of that. You can look to almost any hero in history. The majority of them did something illegal. If not something illegal, they did something that some other government, or possibly the government that they were living under, said that these people need to be hanged. Oh my gosh. If you don't know this, all of the founding fathers that signed the document, the Declaration of Independence, and sent it over to King George himself, I think it was King George, all of them were sentenced to be hanged on sight. If you see this man, John Hancock, Samuel Adams, a lot of those guys, if you see them, hang them on sight. That's a criminal. That's somebody that's done something that's considered to be very illegal. And again, I'm not trying to incite violence. I'm not telling you to go do anything illegal. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is, on the other hand, there may come a time in our country where legal might not be the best course of action, where the voice of the American won't be heard anymore, and he won't have a voice. And then they will try to reduce your ability to fight down to sticks and stones. This is something that happens in every single authoritarian type of, I don't know what you would call it, government, I guess. It'd be just the simplest word, but I had another word for it I couldn't remember. It's what always happens. Now, what we're seeing here that doesn't always happen is our government allowing an occupying force to move in and take over. If they cannot solve the problem, I hate to say it, we're going to have to solve the problem for them. If that means that we all got to start marching down the street with pigs, eating bacon, blasting worship music just to make it highly unbearable, then that's fine. If it means we have to stand in silent protest the same way that they did I'm pretty sure during the Battle of, I think it was Gettysburg. It's early in the morning, so I'm kind of rusty on my remembering right now. The first shots that were fired were not fired by Americans. They were fired by British. And I'm just saying, that's the best way to start a war. And again, I'm not trying to incite violence. I don't want for any kind of a war to happen, especially a civil war. That would make us really vulnerable whenever people in other nations are looking at us and hoping that we get vulnerable at some point here soon. But I guess what I am saying is, if you're thinking the same thoughts, if you're noticing the same things, well, maybe it's time to start, getting ready for something like that. Obviously, I'm not saying that you need to start doom prepping. That's ridiculous. I'm not saying that you need to go out and buy all the guns and ammunition that you can, though it would be pretty fun. I like guns. What I am saying is, it might be a good idea to at least have these things on your mind and try to be aware of what's happening. The best thing you can do to be prepared for anything is just to simply be aware and have an open mind that can adapt to a situation. You should probably at least own one weapon. You should probably, at the very least, be paying attention to what's going on in our country. But if you have similar thoughts to this, please like the video, share it with friends. Sorry for rambling. I hope you guys have a great day. God bless you.